I'm going to tell you why I think people are perhaps a little quick to be bailing on football.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fam? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Happy early holiday season as we're getting there. I hope everybody's doing incredible. I'm your host, Ryan Harris, part of the Locked On Podcast Network here every single day. And I was going to call this show the Big Three because I like doing these community shows. And these are just literally the shows based on the comments that you've had. And then I found more than 3 good comments to react to, as I always did. So I got a bunch of stuff from your comments that we're going to talk about today. And we'll get right into it. The first one is, I mentioned this in the previous show. I asked, what are you higher on right now, football or basketball for the Badgers? What? And everyone, and I knew what the reaction was. And I was, listen, I wasn't baiting, but I knew what the reaction was. And I wanted to use it on a follow-up. Of course, everybody said basketball by a long shot, burn the football program down. And I knew that would be the reaction. This one is, this coming from Steve is an example of that. Basketball by a long shot. Football seems to be on a downturn and downward spiral. A bunch of other ones, man, it's obviously basketball. The bowl streak's over. I wanted to go back and just remind everybody, 5 years ago, Wisconsin football was in the Orange Bowl, and Wisconsin basketball just missed the tournament. And if I'd asked that same question 5 years ago, I would have gotten the same response from every single person. Just flip it. Everybody would have said, football by a long shot, basketball just missed the tournament. But what happened in basketball? Now, again, basketball's not perfect. This show is not that. I know there's a lot of people that get frustrated with things. But after Greg Gard missed the tournament, then 5 of the next 6 years, he won 20 or 20-plus games. Now, ceiling needs to get better, but certainly the stability returned in that program. I don't know how you would argue that. So what I'm saying is things can change quickly. And based on missing a bowl game this year, I wouldn't completely say it's absolutely basketball. Football's cooked, because we saw it in basketball. Greg Gard adjusted. He missed the tournament. And then literally the next 2 years, he won 20-plus games. That COVID year, which was 2 years after he missed the tournament, might have been his best team, one of his best teams. That team was playing incredible. You absolutely can't deny it. Like, the fact that we didn't get to see that team have an opportunity to make a run is a tragedy. The way they're playing down the stretch, they won the Big Ten. It's absolutely possible that this thing turns around in a certain way. And I would just be careful about being too quick to throw it out was my point there. Let's go here. This one's from Kerr. He said, PC might be better in this era just because he focused so heavy on Wisconsin guys, and they're probably more likely to stick around. This is a comment I've been seeing a couple places, like, hey, you got to get back to focus. You got to, in the portal era, you got to get back to recruiting the in-state kids who are going to stick around. Find the Leo Musos, find the Zach Bonds, find those type of kids. So in theory, great. And I do think that there's an element of, you're always looking for competitive advantages. Every program is. Where are the competitive advantages for Wisconsin? Well, one of them is there's a lot of loyalty still in state. It's the only D1 program in the state. It's a big state that cares about football. Absolutely. If you can get kids from in-state, you can find players that are more likely to stick around. You can find players that are more likely to have some type of loyalty built into it. A Hunter Wohler, that dude just bled for this program for years, right? Incredible player. Find more guys like that. The problem is twofold. Firstly, there's never enough guys in the state. As great as that theory is, and it's not even theory, as great as that idea is, this is not Georgia or Florida, right? 2025 was a good year in state, and there were about 13 kids committed to high major programs. Now, certainly there's other kids that go to North Dakota, and you could argue, well, get those guys too, and those guys could develop. Sure, in 2023, there were like 3 high major guys on state. It was Nate White, McDonald, and Herman. You guys remember Ethan Herman, a guy, I really liked him, by the way. Evan Herman, sorry, who's a defensive end, ended up going to Vanderbilt. There's not enough in state to do this. Now, that being said, I do think you have to, if you can, make it a little bit more of a priority. If you can find some underrated kids, the way this program used to do, find those kids in state, get on them early, develop those relationships. I think you are more likely to hold those players in this era of football. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to build, so have some of those culture guys in the locker room. So I do think it's a mix, right? Take some of it, take some of what's worked in the past, integrate it into this current landscape of college football. But that's not the perfect button. That's not the silver bullet, because A, there's not enough talent in state. Other schools are recruiting it harder. And quite frankly, that wall's broken. The thing that Barry Alvarez built, it started to break down at the end of the Paul Chryst era, and it's just there's not a stigma about leaving the state now. Notre Dame, Michigan, schools are coming in Penn State are coming in pretty regularly and taking kids. So I think all of that is in the mix. But in theory, I would like to add a couple more of those kids that end up at a North Dakota State. Get them early, get them in the program, develop them. I do think there is merit to that idea. Man, we're down bad lately when I get this type of comment. This is from a Minnesota fan. As a Minnesota fan, I kind of want you guys to get your S together in football so it's meaningful to beat you again. Not a 13-year winning streak good, but better than lately. Yeah, we down bad. There's nothing else to say to that one. Kevin V says, wonder where they're going to go after a quality running back. I think running back room is good. I really do. I get this comment occasionally because there wasn't a running back in the 2025 class, which I do think was a mistake, by the way. I think you get a running back every year. I think you find a guy somewhere and get him in the program, develop him. But I think with Darrion Dupree and Dylan Jones and Gideon Ituka and Jackson Aker and Cade Yacamelli, if he's still there, that's plenty. That's more than plenty. Many teams don't have that backfield. So I think that's more than fine. They got to play Yak more. I think they will. I think Aker's going to play in Grimes' system. I like the combo, the freshman running back. I've talked about it a bunch. I'm not going to beat that horse. But I also like Gideon Ituka. Gideon Ituka is a guy who came in really, really productive. He's got quick feet between the tackles. For those who kind of forgot about him, he's quick feet between the tackles. He's got kind of a Tyree Walker type build. He can catch the ball pretty well too. I think we're fine there. I really do. I always talk about this in terms of like opportunity shopping. Like if you stumble, like you're stumbling your way home from the transfer portal bar and you're half drunk and you stumble over a 4-star running back that wants to come, yeah, throw him in the cab and bring him home to the pad. But aside from that, I don't think you need one. If you find an opportunity to upgrade, you always do that. You always take opportunities to upgrade the roster if you can. But I think running back is good. And by the way, I don't condone kidnapping 4-star running backs and throwing them in the cab and bringing them to the pad, if that's what it sounded like. But if you can find one, you find one. Alien Space, again, this goes back to the first comment. Is this a joke? Hoops by a long shot. The football team broke an almost 23-year bowl streak. Again, 5 years ago, and I'm not saying you're wrong, Aliens. It might be hoops by a long shot. But I'm just saying 5 years ago, that narrative would have been completely shifted. And then Greg Gard adjusted, and the next 2 years won 20 games each year. I think we at times become victims of recency bias. All right, we'll take a quick second there. Come back and talk about how the NCAA is ruining or not ruining this sport, and if McIntosh needs to step in and do something. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Game Time. Game Time's, I talk about all the time. I like talking about things I like, right? I like talking about Badger football, basketball. I like talking about history. I like talking about video games. I like talking about my kids and my fam because I like talking about things I like. Game Time is one of those things I like. It's one of those things I personally use. Some of those people out there hawking products, getting rid of products, advertising products that they've never used. They don't know what it does. I've used Game Time. I've been in the trenches with them. We've gone to war together, and I've came out the other side with tickets to entertainment experiences that I have loved. I can vouch for them because I use them. I've saved money. I've gotten better tickets. I've gotten better experiences. I've brought friends to places with Game Time. I've recommended them. My friends have used them. If you want tickets to the best places, use the best platform that's over at Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time, right? It's as simple as that. Download the Game Time app. Use code Locked On for $20 off. Let's do more stuff in 2025. Go to Game Time, download the app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Today's episode also brought to you by our incredible friends over at Rocket Money. Listen, if you're like me, you sometimes pile up the subscriptions and forget what you have, where you have, when you have, what you have, who you have. Even in this ad read, I'm forgetting what I've got going on. Go to Rocket Money. They're going to help you get rid of unwanted subscriptions, which is going to save you money. It's going to save you stress. It's going to allow you to better plan for your future. They have everything you need in one place, consolidated, which is incredible. Again, that's what a nice tool in today's world where there's stuff everywhere. Rocket Money brings it into one place. It's awesome. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. Over 500 million saved in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedoncollege. All right, let's jump back into this. More comments. Again, these are all comments from the YouTube channel. So I appreciate everybody talking about it, bringing them up. It really makes the show a lot better. This is from, let's see, let me pull down here. Sorry. This is from Greg. Ryan, the portal transfer exits have become alarming. Over a dozen. What the heck is going on? When is Mac going to step in and stop this exodus? And that's from Greg. I'm going to do a show on when the dust all settles. And I talked to somebody the other day that has some involvement in this kind of stuff. When the dust all settles, I'm going to look at all the Big Ten teams, and I'm telling you guys, Wisconsin's not going to be that much of an outlier. They're just not. People don't want to hear it. Everybody's losing dudes. Everybody's losing guys. Big Ten teams are losing guys to each other. And it doesn't make me happy to lose a Lafayette. I talked about it on the show. It doesn't make me happy to lose a Xavier Lucas. I talked about it on the show. But this is happening everywhere to everybody. I think it's, politics are local. That's something I heard recently. So you're very focused on what's happening to you. This is a college football thing, a college basketball thing, not a Wisconsin thing. Could Wisconsin get better in elements? Absolutely. Could Wisconsin fine-tune things? Absolutely. But I don't think there's anything Matt can step in and stop. I just don't. Scott Z said the NCAA is letting money rule, and it is the ruination of college sports. I dropped both my basketball and football tickets as I saw this BS coming. That makes me sad. And I don't blame Scott for sure. That bums me out, though. Like, to see people who love this sport drop tickets and start to lose they got to get this thing figured out quickly. And when they do, when legislation comes and there's revenue sharing and there's contracts, hopefully people like Scott come back in the fold, because I get his perspective. I get the point. I wouldn't argue against it. And it just kind of bums me out because this is a sport I love. And I hate seeing people fall out of love with something that I love. And it frustrates me too. Like, portal season is great for podcasts, great for content creation. It's not the type of content I necessarily love creating. I don't like creating content talking about a 4-star recruit that I really love that left in a year. Like, that's not fun content. There's content that generates clicks but isn't enjoyable. That would fall more into that category for sure. Greg H, we need DBs now since we got the Idaho receiver. Watch the show every day, Ryan, from the 715. Craig, my man, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And this isn't just to Craig, but thank you to everybody who watches every day. Amazing, incredible, humbling. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Bonus points that you're from the 715. Let's go. Shout out to Cumberland, Wisconsin, the greatest small town in Wisconsin, as I've talked about several times. But yeah, we need DBs. I think the number's 3 at least. I think you need. I saw a poll go up on our Discord the other day. The question was, how many DBs do we need? And the number was 4. I don't think you need 4. I think it's going to be hard to find 4. I think the number you're hoping to get is 3. The bare minimum's 2. The bare minimum is 2 corners that you think could step in. 2 corners that you think could step in and play tomorrow. Not be all-stars, not be all-conference guys, because you're not going to find that. But can they step in and be Devin Smith and Max Lofi, Marcus Cromartie, Nizer Fortgreen? Can it be that type of guy? You need 2 at least. 3 is what I would shoot for on that. Next question here. This is from Craig. Different Craig, I think. We had Connor Whalen on the show the other day. He said, love Connor's attitude about the portal losses. It's a healthy attitude towards the NIL reality. It would be helpful if more folks adopted this attitude. For those that didn't watch the show with Connor, Connor's attitude is basically, it happens. Move on and adjust. And I'm telling you, that's where we got to get. That's where I got to get. It's not just you. I'm not up here on the bully pulpit hitting you over the head with a baton and telling you shape up. I got to get it too. I got to hit myself with the baton. We got to get more to the fact that this is happening everywhere. This is the reality of college sports. Like it or not, love it or not, most people don't. I get it. Adjust or die, right? Adapt or die. You lost the corner, go find another. And here's what I'd say. Teams are portal tampering with your roster. You better be tampering with others. I hate to say that, but it is what it is. It's in this ecosystem of college football. If you have schools coming in and talking to the guys on your roster, you better have backup plans too. Or you're going to get caught flat-footed, and nobody's going to care that you said, well, at least we didn't tamper if you're losing games because you don't have cornerbacks. I hate saying that. That's not what I want. It's also the reality of this sport right now. When NFL and NBA free agency starts and people sign immediately, why is that? It's because it's a pro sport and tampering's happening. Well, college football is more of a pro sport now. You got to cover your bases. You got to have backup plans. So, yeah, and by the way, I also love Connor. I'm definitely want to get him back on if he's willing to come on. But Craig, Greg, Scott, Kevin, everybody else, even that rando Minnesota fan that feels sorry for us, man, we are down bad. Yeah. Thank you. As always, that's today's episode on Wisconsin. I'm hoping everyone has a great start to the holidays. Appreciate you all as always. Let's talk later.